Hey everyone. So I'm going to discuss about verbal behavior. So the first part of the question is what's the difference between verbal and nonverbal behavior? From what I understood is that verbal behavior is like any behavior that is like reinforced through the mediation of another person. So basically it has to involve being reinforced by another person, and it's like the individuals mediating the reinforcement best have been specifically trained to provide such reinforcement. So I think of this in terms of like my job as like a social clinician, and when I was a behavior therapist, is when some child, let's say, asked for a toy car, and looked at me and asked for it, I would give them the toy car. So that was like a verbal behavior because it was mediated through them. It was their behavior, them asking me, and I mediated that response by giving them the car, and I reinforced their behavior of asking for a car again in the future. And nonverbal is basically any behavior, it seems like, that's like more reflexive. Like, for example, like in the videos we're watching, is like when the ophthalmologist like shined a light in the patient's eye and the pupil got big. That was just more of like a reflex, but not something that will be reinforced again in the future. And also nonverbal like is like maybe behavior that occurs without anyone else around. For example, like cooking yourself dinner or getting yourself food when you're hungry. So that's all like nonverbal behavior. And how is Skinner's analysis of verbal behavior different from how others may consider such behavior? Well, when I always thought about behavior, like I always thought of the dead man's test as anything, like basically anything that someone living does, like walking, like any type of behavior, talking, anything. But Skinner kind of describes it in terms of involving someone else in the process, which kind of goes along with how applied behavior analysis is and how we use that type of therapy to increase certain behaviors or decrease certain behaviors. The next question is how would you explain Skinner's analysis to a person without a behavioral background? So I would give them an example of verbal behavior is anything that involves someone else that reinforces a certain behavior. So, for example, let's say you're asking for them for food or a snack or something, and then that person gives you the food. So, I would explain how the act of them giving the food will reinforce that other person's behavior asking someone else for food again in the future because they were reinforced for asking for that. And then nonverbal, like I stated the example earlier, like cooking yourself dinner or so that's basically any behavior that occurs without someone like reinforcing a certain behavior, increasing the likelihood that it will happen. So I would give them those basic examples. It's still hard to explain. It took me a while to understand verbal behavior, and I'm still learning about it. Um, and then I guess I would also try to explain how um, verbal behavior is basically behavior that is increased through someone responding to them in a certain way, and that person will most likely respond that way again. So it's really hard to try to think of examples and figure out how to explain it to someone because I'm still trying to understand it. But yeah, so that's what I think about verbal and nonverbal behavior.